Hi everyone, I am Lloyd Heinrich from The Wine Collective. Today I'm joined by a really special guest to talk about a wine that we stumbled across recently in our search for the best in collective Shiraz. We tasted over 50 wines blind in a big lineup of Shiraz from around Australia. This wine was voted unanimously in the top three. It's from an absolute legend of the Australian community, and it might surprise you to know that this is not a winemaker. Today, I'm joined by Aussie cricketing legend, Ricky Ponting. Ricky, welcome to the Wine Collective.
Good afternoon, mate. Nice introduction.
Thank you. Awesome wine, congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
A really good intro into what you're doing. Tell me a little bit about the 127 and where the concept came from.
Well, the 127 concept, I mean, we're talking about milestones really with this particular wine. We're into our second year of the Ponting label now. We wanted to change things up a little bit from where we were and our introductory wines in the first year. With some creative heads around our team, we came up with this milestone sort of line, if you like. The 127 was my first Test match 100. It was an Ashes
Great.
Test match. It was at Headingley in 1997, which starting to show my age a little bit there. It was a long time ago, but
Yep.
What we've tried to do right through the whole brand is tell stories. It's not just not just about cricket. We want to talk about wine and talk about my journey through my very early childhood days. Hence some other wines in the line from Tasmania. So we wanted to tell that story, and now we've got to a stage with these milestone wines that we can start incorporating some milestones that did happen through my cricket career. So that's where it sort of started. And as you say, the wine that we have put together here in this particular 127 is something that we're exceptionally proud of.
So, a long time around the Australian cricket side, spent a lot of time with the likes of Matty Hayden and Andrew Simons. How is it that you didn't end up, consigned to a world of drinking 4X and you've entered the world of fine wine?
I think I probably drank my fair share of beer through my playing days with those boys in the change rooms. And that, to be honest, I mean, that was my upbringing as well. It was very much a beer and a barbecue sort of upbringing with my family in northern Tasmania. But I think as I started to get a little bit older, and certainly when I met my wife, and a lot of the senior players around the team at the end of a game weren't just sitting and having a beer; they were having a glass of wine as well. So it was a bit of a slower sort of introduction. I was probably into my mid-20s before I even had my first glass of wine. But I'm making up for lost time now in retirement. So that's sort of how it started. And we have, Rihanna and I, my wife, have been really interested and more even intrigued by wine. The last 10 years. So when we sort of put our heads together and thought about getting involved in the industry, it was something that we knew that we could be really passionate about, because we certainly had a great enjoyment and want to learn, if you like, about wine and the wine industry.
Great. So the wine's made by an industry legend in his own right, Ben Riggs. How did you come to be working with Riggsy?
Well, we said when we thought about the whole concept that we wanted to make sure we had the best people involved, and through David Krenich, who's part of our business as well, and he'd had a long association with Ben. I made a few trips over to South Australia and spent some time with him. We got to know him first and got to see what he was all about, and absolutely loved his work. It was really funny actually, because one of the first wines, red wines in particular, that I actually liked drinking and started drinking as a younger bloke was Wirrawirra Church Block, which Ben was actually the winemaker, which I didn't even know at the time before I'd met him. So once that association started, and I got a real feel for Ben and his craft, if you like, and learn a bit more about him and how many fantastic award-winning wines he's made over the years. The synergy was there straight away, and it just seemed like a really good fit. He's great at what he does, and he's a great person as well. So to have him involved with us has been a great thrill.
Great. So as I alluded to before, this wine came in the top three of our blind tasting when we looked at a whole group of really top quality Shiraz for our best in collective. This was my favourite wine of on the bench on the day, and I didn't know what it was until we revealed.
Yep.
So what qualities about the wine were you looking for when you put it together, and what sets this apart in the category, do you think?
I think one thing we've always talked about within the brand and the label is trying to be a little bit different. Obviously with this one, a Barossa Shiraz, we wanted to make sure that it was not just the same as every other Barossa Shiraz that you taste. You know, it's probably it's more of a what I'd say more of a modern take on a Barossa Shiraz. I think it's a bit more elegant, it's a bit lighter. It's not as big and overt as you know some of the other Barossa Shirazes you'll come across. So that's what we were looking for, really, you know, a more modern take on what people are sort of used to when they first taste a Barossa Shiraz. Yeah.
So have you talked to Ben about, you know, the development of the wine and how it might look over time? You know, have you thought about what kind of cellaring potential the wine might have?
Yeah, and that was part of it as well. We wanted something that was there and ready to drink
now,
young, but also something
which I can attest to.
Yeah, but also something you can stick away in the cellar for 10 years and make sure when you open it then that it's actually grown and got better. So you know, that's part of Ben's great skill, I guess, is being able to have all those complexities and things put together in the bottle, ready to drink there and then, but also, as I said, when special occasions come up down the track, that you've got something that's been in the cellar for long enough that you can still enjoy 10 or 12 or 15 years down the track.
Great. So 10 to 15 years down the track, you know, Ponting Wines, you've started, this is your second vintage that you've done.
Yep.
You know, talk to me a little bit about where you see the brand and yourself in the wine industry in 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, when we started talking about this whole venture, it wasn't just about, you know, Rihanna and I sticking our name on a bottle and walking away and hoping that we're going to make a quick buck out of it all. It was something that, as I said, we're really passionate about, and it's something that we are heavily involved in. We want to make sure we're in this for the long haul. You know, it's when you've got your name on a bottle, it's you have to make sure you're doing things well and you're fully involved and fully invested in it. But I've also said to everyone involved with Ponting Wines that this is potentially something that I want my son and my daughters to be involved in down the track, and you know, taking over a nice little business that we've left behind. So it's about, you know, it's about being able to produce high quality wine over a long period of time, and just enjoy the experience. And you know, we're just scratching the surface really. We know what we've got product wise is really good.
Yep.
We've still got a fair bit of work to do in and around the business, which is a really exciting part for Brianna and I to be involved in as well. But yeah, this is something that we're in for the long haul, and we want to make sure that we're leaving, as I said, hopefully leaving something to future generations of my family to enjoy as well.
Great. And off air before we got started, we were talking about some of the other products that you might have in the pipeline. You know, Tassie Boy. Yep. Any chance that we might be seeing something from down further south?
Yes, yeah, that's part of the whole storytelling through the brand was. Yep. You know, we've got the Pinot Noir and the Chardonnay out of Tasmania, and both from the northern regions of Tasmania as well, which is where I grew up. So I thought it was really important, you know, and you'll see with a lot of the labelling and the stories that we tell on the label that it's about the journey. It's about from where I started as a young boy growing up in northern suburbs of Tasmania to where I am now as someone that's going on nearly 50 years of age. It's learning and growing in the wine industry. So. Yeah, and you talk about other regions, and when with McLaren Vale and Langon Creek and you know, Adelaide Hills, we're ticking off a lot of the best wine-making regions in Australia with what we're doing throughout the line. So it's been really exciting. As I said, we've got a bit of work to do yet, but we're excited to see where it's going to go.
Great. So passion for the industry, a bit of a longer-term vision, and commitment to telling stories about the land. I mean, this is very similar to where the Wine Collective holds ourselves in the industry. We've got a very long history of this. You know, one of your firstborn premium wines. How do you feel about it being with us, the Wine Collective?
Well, delighted to be involved with the Wine Collective. Obviously, had a really good and interesting Zoom call with the team a few weeks ago now when I was locked up in quarantine, but. Even from that, you know, the feel that I got there was great. I said at the start that we want to associate ourselves with great people, and that's what certainly the feeling that we've got from the Wine Collective. So we're absolutely delighted, and hopefully this is just the start of something that we can continue on. I'll have to look at a few different milestones and things that I can come up with and find a few different wines. But no, the association so far has been awesome, and I guess as long as we keep producing great wines, and hopefully you guys will be interested in what we've got to offer.
Absolutely. Probably not the run out on 99. That's not the milestone
one
that we'll be looking for.
We'll have to think. And even 127.
Just one short.
127. I think I'll have to come up with something a bit higher than that as well. We'll start getting into the 200s.
Oh yeah,
and numbers that I can.
You've got plenty of. You bought yourself plenty of breathing room on the top end there. That's really good. So you know, wine. You've you've become interested in the product and the industry. Tell me a little bit about your drinking it journey and what you're up to at the moment, and what some of the sort of special wines you've been drinking recently.
Yeah, well, as I said, it wasn't anything that I was brought up with or had around. Certainly wasn't. We didn't have wine on the dinner table or anything when I was growing up. So it was, I think, probably first introduced it, as I said, some of the more senior players in the team. Would be on tours to different parts of the world. If you're in the UK or in New Zealand or different places like that, there's always wine at dinner. But I generally stayed away from it as a younger bloke, especially if there was a game around the corner. But I think since I've met Rihanna, so Rihanna and I have been together for 21 years now, and that's sort of where the journey started. So it's very rare for us now to even be sitting at home cooking dinner or out for dinner anywhere where we're not, having a glass of wine. And what I like doing certainly with the wine now is I very rarely will drink the same wine all the time. I'm very interested in trying different things and tasting different things, whether it's a Riesling or if it's a Chardonnay or a Sauvignon Blanc, or once you get into even some of the bigger, heavier reds. So we've tried to sort of expand and learn more about it along the way. And I think, even from different regions and things like that, what you can pick up from how a certain wine will taste from a certain region, they're the sort of things that we're enjoying and learning about. As I say, we're very much novices really yet, but we've loved the experience of being involved with it. So, look, so to talk about what are some of the best wines you're drinking at the moment, I think it's just trying a bit of everything. So once our stocks of this have run out in the cellar at home, I have to get out and try something else. So, and having been in quarantine the last few weeks and sort of been up here in Sydney rather than being in Melbourne, we've probably enjoyed a bit more wine the last few weeks than I would have otherwise. So it's been nice. It's been good.
Very good. On a journey, still learning about wine. Consider yourself a bit of a novice. Same. Been doing this for 20 years, still learning. There's still always lots to learn in the wine industry. So it's such a fabulous
just
industry
spending
to get involved with.
spending some time with Ben and blending. And like the first vintage that we had certainly with the Tasmanian wines, it was we had to do a fair bit of blending there to get the wines to where we wanted them. So when we first started with the Chardonnay, my wife Rihanna's got a really clear idea of what she likes, and David will back me up there. Idea of what she likes in a Chardonnay, but what we had to be really careful was that we couldn't just try and make a wine that we like. We had to open our eyes up to what we think other people would like now, and what the current wine drinkers, if you like, are drinking. So the blending side of it with Ben was intriguing, to say the least. And even with that as well, coming up with the right blend for that. And as I said, I've got to be guided by him and the experts, but being part of that whole journey and the blending process through these wines has been probably the most enjoyable part of it, because once we've actually got the wines from blend into bottle, into people's hands, we're hearing a lot of really good feedback about the product that we've got there. So the next phase now for us is to get it into more people's hands and more households, and because what we've found so far is and this is the whole part of the journey as well, we wanted people to have a drink, enjoy what they're drinking, and make sure that there's something they want to come back and drink again, and that's what we're hearing from people. So so far so good.
Very good. All right, Ricky, shall we have a look at the wine then?
I think we better.
All right. Really vibrant in the glass. It's really striking, the colour.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, didn't we, about the blending side of this with Ben. 4 or 5 different vineyards that took to sourcing the grapes to come up with this blend. So it wasn't an easy thing to do. We talked about it wanting to be a little bit different and a sort of a more modern take on a Barossa Shiraz. So Ben had to really get to work and do a lot to come up with what he's come up with. But it's turned out absolutely terrific.
It's looking really really fresh and vibrant. As you said, mid-weight. So a couple of really old vineyards in here, adding some real depth, but also with the older vineyards from the Barossa, we're finding that we're getting that more elegant style if you back off a bit on the oak and winemaking.
Yeah, we talk about old vineyards. I think one of the vineyards that we got some grapes from here was over 100 years old in the Barossa. So
yeah, wow.
It's not what you know, it's who you know sometimes, right? So we had to lean on Ben.
First crack straight into a
Exactly.
100-year-old vineyard. So first game, similar to entering the test team and making 100 on debut.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm loving what I'm seeing here. There's lots of brightness and there's some really, really attractive blueberries in this one, which I'm loving. I think it's the real depth of flavour that Ben's managed to get in here by blending those different vineyard parcels together. Tell me a little bit about the blending process.
Well, you can see straight away how elegant it is straight away, right? So it doesn't really bang and hit you right between the eyes like some of them can, but yeah. So as we've said, small batch vineyards in the Barossa, 4 or 5 together. Some of the grapes from a vineyard over 100 years old, and then it's let Ben go about his work and the blending side of it. We said right at the start, and one of the first questions you asked me about what were we trying to achieve here, we were trying to achieve something that was a little bit different. So that's where the blending side of it and Ben's expertise really came to the fore.
And did you get involved on the blending bench, tasting different samples?
We have. And right from the start, right from our very first introduction into this, it was about Rihanna and I being very much hands-on and getting in and getting dirty. I'm actually looking forward to doing a little bit more of that with him this year as well, with our with the next vintages we have coming through. So that's been for us the real learning curve from this whole thing. As I talked earlier about. Sampling and trying different wines from different regions, and then having a bit of an idea of an understanding of what you like yourself. But it's about what the broader community like. Obviously, what do the new generation, if you like, what are people talking about, and what are they enjoying drinking? And we've got to keep that in the back of our mind, but also have the old school, typically Australian blends there as well. So
I think this wine for customers watching this video. The wine's perfectly pitched. It is mid-weight. It's very typically Barossa, but it does hold back a little bit in terms of the power, which I really like, a bit of restraint. Very elegant. It's nearly like a perfectly timed cover drive for me. Just cracked out straight through the cover.
I wish it was that easy.
Well, for Ben, it probably is as
right.
easy as you playing a cover drive. Yeah. Perfectly pitched. Beautifully weighted, very floral, got some really nice spice on the nose, and I think that the length is really what sets this wine apart for me. It has. I remember tasting it in the lineup and thinking to myself that it had carry, and I love a wine that holds its form and all the way through your mouth, and those old vines really add to that length and texture. It's a great wine. Well, Ricky, thank you very much for joining us. 127 Shiraz from the Barossa, something that we're incredibly proud to be representing at the Wine Collective, and something that you should be very proud of too. Congratulations.
Well, thanks, mate.